Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and thanks for checking out the channel, which is called Dude Tested. In a recent episode, I showed off how we could utilize a hacked Spotify car thing with the power of artificial intelligence to make our own custom ham radio apps for a small device that will fit on our desks. In that video, I showed off the FlexThing, a FlexRadio controller that when I made the video wasn't quite done, but I've made a little progress which I'd like to share with you now. And I'm going to show you where you could download it for free, just in case you have a Spotify car thing. All right, let's get started. And please don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Today, we're going to get started in the software DeskThing. If you're unfamiliar with jailbreaking your Spotify car thing, or if you don't understand what DeskThing is yet, I highly recommend you go back and watch the video I just made, which shows you everything and kind of explains it in a little more depth. Because if you don't understand that, this video is going to be a little bit more confusing. However, we have a jailbroken car thing, we have DeskThing running, and we have our application. We need to install our application, so we're going to click on Downloads. And when we click on Downloads, we're going to click on App. Under the Downloads section, we should see Add App. And when we click on that, we're going to upload a local file. And I do have a link below for the files you'll want to download. At the time of recording, the FlexThing is on version 1.8.6. So we're going to click the zip file for FlexThing version 1.8.6 and install it. As you can see, it says it's a FlexRadio SDR controller with VFO, antenna switching, antenna tuner, noise blanker, noise reduction, band switching, memory channels, and power control. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to check this box that says, I know that this is an insecure app. And I know that the app already exists, for me at least, because I already have it installed. Let's go ahead and initialize or install the app again. In just 2 seconds, it installs, and now we're going to click on the apps folder. Under the apps folder, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the software from running. We can see FlexThing is running, and I want to pause it because we're going to go into the settings, and we're going to take a look at the settings options on the left. We have multiple options we could set in here, for example, our IP address, but I just leave it blank because it should automatically discover it if it's on the same subnet and it's on the same local IP range. The default tuning steps is usually 100. I set it to 1000 Hertz. And finally, our memory channels. And as we can see, I've set the frequency, the mode, and the label, 20 meters, 40 meters, 80 meters. And we could do up to 8 memory channels. Let's go ahead and click Save for now. And that's about all we need to do in the settings feature. Next, we're going to go to our custom mapping. And what custom mapping is basically telling the buttons on the Spotify car thing what they're supposed to do. There are multiple physical buttons on the Spotify car thing, and that's what I'm referencing. So if we click on clients and we click on mapping, I've already created a profile called Flex3. And within the Flex3 profile, I've basically coded or programmed all these buttons to do something. One observation I've made about DeskThing is sometimes everything is forgotten, as you could see here. And the nice thing is it doesn't mean my mapping is gone. I just need to reinstall it. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on Import Profile. And really nothing happens. So instead, I know I already have the profile and I know that it's functional. I click on the plus arrow and this allows me to create a new profile. I'll call this something like Flex2 and then I'll call this Flex2 and I'll copy my profile from the original Flex3 profile. I know that sounds really confusing, but sometimes that has to be done in order for the button mapping to work. And as you can see, as soon as I imported Flex2, I got all of my toggle wheels and all my commands and action wheel information back. If that sounds confusing, that's probably the most confusing part about this whole thing. Now watch, when I click on Flex3 and I switch that profile, all my stuff is still back. So I can go ahead and I can delete Flex2 now. I have included a custom mapping file in the GitHub repository as well. Let's jump over to the desk and actually take a look at what all these buttons do and the functionality of the software. When we boot up our FlexThing, we're presented with the VFO screen. Now this screen is our main screen where we could do things like control our VFO knob. As you can see, I'm going in 1 kilohertz increments. However, if I tap the VFO knob, I could change the step. Very fine-tuned at 1 hertz, and currently it's up to 1 kilohertz. We could change this in the future, but I tend to enjoy 1 kilohertz. Now that we're on a frequency, we could change the modes if we need to by clicking on the lower sideband button, and you can see how the modes are changing on the screen. Of course, we know that 40 meters is lower sideband, so let's just keep it there. And one observation that we can make is there's also a TX/RX button, where if we tap this, we could be transmitting. An antenna tuner button, where if we tap this, we tune our antenna. We could change our antennas by tapping the antenna button. And again, we could change our mode down here. I also want to mention that the tune button, this will disappear just like you saw now, but I could also utilize this small button underneath the large VFO knob to tune. Now, if you thought that was cool, there are several other menus, and we're going to discuss them now. We could access the other menus by clicking their buttons respectively, such as DSP, the memory, TX, and POTA spots. Furthermore, for some of the buttons, you can click on the top buttons on the CarThing itself, DSP, memory, TX, and I currently don't have an additional button for the POTA spots, but in the future I hope to be able to implement a long hold to go to the POTA screen. In the DSP screen, we see multiple options. For example, we could enable our noise blanker, our noise reduction. We could disable our noise blanker. We could reset the steps of how much or how little or more we want our steps on our VFO to go. We could change the mode again. We can go band up, band down. We can go VFO up, VFO down. Now, of course, we can also click on the memory button on the top, and it brings us to our predefined memory locations that were set up within the Flex app settings on DeskThing. So, for example, that's my 20 meters, 14.074, 20 meters, 14.300 upper sideband, FT8, 80 meters, FT8, 40 meters. Because this is the memory button, I do think that in the future, these 4 buttons should change to memory buttons. After all, we could access all of these options in different menus, such as our noise reduction DSP menu and our VFO menu. If we click on our 4th button, we get to TX, and here we could change our transmit power by 10-watt increments. We could also click here to transmit. And finally, we have our POTA spots page. And this is a POTA spots page for whatever mode you're currently on. Currently, we're on sideband, so I'm being displayed all the current spots for people operating sideband at parks on the air. I could take any one of these and I can click them to go to that frequency. Furthermore, if I were to change my mode to say CW and click on that, it would refresh with the CW data. The only other thing I really need to show you is that the S meter itself actually works. To do that, I've jumped over to FT8, roughly, and I've changed the mode to DigiU. On the screen, we could see that we're currently at about an S5, and the screen that we're referencing on the Flex software is roughly the same. Not only have I included the source code for FlexThing, but I've also included a whole documentation or guide that will allow you to upload it to your artificial intelligence program. And the artificial intelligence program, after analyzing it, should be able to understand how programming for CarThing and DeskThing works. This will allow you to make changes to things like FlexThing without having to ask a developer. For example, I'm not a CW guy, or at least too much. But I could see the necessity for somebody wanting to put in the RBN spots on one of the pages, and maybe even a way to adjust the words per minute for your key. Anyway, thanks for watching the channel. I hope you enjoyed this. Who knows what we'll see next? Maybe we'll see programming for the Hermes light. Maybe we'll see programming for that ICOM IC7300 MK2. If you'd like to find out what's going to be next, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, which is free, and you'll be alerted when I make new videos.